Today, I want to give you an update on the 1093, 365 KVK, where both of those kingdoms are really vying for being the best large kingdom in the game. So stick around in this video for the things you need to know. How did we get to this point? What were my predictions? And how is this going? Let's get a look. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms. And I have been watching the 1093 versus 365 KVK very, very closely, and I personally have a lot of experience battling against 365 in this exact same map. So I know their kingdom very, very well and how they'll perform. And of course, many of us have been watching the sort of underdog storyline of 1093 as they take on many fights and win when it's just not expected that they would win. In fact, they recently won Ark of Osiris League. So can they beat 365 here in KVK, in addition to having beat them in Ark of Osiris League this season? There's a couple things I want to do. First of all, let me start with my prediction. My prediction was that 365 was going to win. My prediction was that 365 was going to win specifically because they are the most equipped kingdom in the game, in my opinion, for this KVK format. They have more fighters that are swarm capable and have deep rosters than I think possibly any other kingdom in the game. And in this KVK, everything is swarmable, especially flags in Kingsland. You put 12 marches on that thing, you don't need a rally, and it's just gone. Now remember, this is a KVK format where there are auxiliary skills. These auxiliary skills are crucial. You can put 3 more skills onto a commander pairing, which means when you swarm a garrison, okay, you have 36 extra skills worth of debuffs swarming the garrison. Garrisoning is unsustainable, and as we look at the 1093 flag line, they are definitely, I think, experiencing the pain of that. In fact, several players from 1093 messaged me, and they were like, hey, so all that stuff you said about swarming is fully 100% correct. And I'm paraphrasing, but they basically said like, wow, swarming is so easy. It's so easy. It is. It's almost impossible to fill a flag in this KVK. I mean, it's literally like, all right, the new captain's in. And then 2 seconds later, we need a new captain. They're about to pop. And then, someone else goes in and you got like, you can put multiple 100 million power whales spam filling the garrison. You cannot fill the garrison fast enough. So what I'm trying to say is my prediction was that either you hold the field or you lose the KVK. And that just is what it is. And to get to this point, some very important things happened, okay? And I want to just review how did we get here before we go in depth on the sort of change of progress here. And by the way, consider using the timestamps if there's any one thing you want to jump to. But you may remember when these zones in the these open on the left and on the right, 365 and their allies had a very good situation. They had 3 circles fully secured, whereas 1093 had only 2 circles secured. And we really learned that 1818, which came out of this pass, could punch way harder than people were expecting. Even though they aren't Imperium, they punch like it, which is very significant. And that is an ally of 365. It's a big, big, big deal. So the other thing that happened is that if you didn't see my video about this, 1093 got the circle over here. I wasn't expecting that they would necessarily be able to get the circle, but they did it, which was very impressive. And the significance of this is that they get 30% healing speed. That's big. That's really big. So they evened up the circles going into Kingsland. Even though the territory still favors 365, the circle distribution is even. So what happened in Kingsland? Well, you may recall that this shell over here charged in, and I felt like they gassed themselves. I thought they had somehow ran out of storehouse. They went all the way through here, and they had built, and then they stopped, and I was like, guys, why did you stop? You have open territory going in this direction. Don't let them get the land for free. But they stopped building, and I think they ran out of storehouse. They built like 30 plus flags in this little area. In fact, they almost had the opportunity here to cut this purple line, which would have been absolutely freaking astronomical, removing S22 from Kingsland. But they didn't have the field to be able to do it. And if you hold the field, all things are possible. Without field, you are in trouble. So The other thing that was a little weird is the start for the allies of 1093 was very, very slow. And the thing that's sort of evolved in a way that I think is very, very, very good for 1093 is that now the allies are holding a much larger share of the Kingsland, which they needed to do. 1093 was doing literally all the heavy lifting at the start of the Kingsland, and I think this is a much better situation for 1093 so that they can focus other places. So kudos to the allies of 1093 for kicking it into gear and now getting into position. Even though it wasn't off rip, it at least has happened. From here, though, we look to the right side of the map, and this is where 365 gained a fair amount of position in their downtime. You may recall, 365 off rip had a really fast build to this position over here, and it shouldn't have been possible. 1093, I don't know, I wasn't in there, but I think in a perfect world, based on the sort of number of flags they built, perhaps didn't allocate enough builders or something went sideways because they didn't get to this position they should have been able to get to. And what's crazy is, look, 1093 off rip actually built out of this corner and it boxed out SH1. This was big. 1093 really did a great job coming out of the gates and owning this side of the field. But for whatever reason, their build really lagged getting over to here. So they spent a lot of time fighting over this river when they should have really owned this part of the river already. But, you know, hey, look, no, I'm not being critical of 1093. Like, I'm just saying, like, they were all over the place. They had a lot to do, right? 365 is really pushed in and taken advantage of the thing that I said they would be able to take advantage of, which is their overwhelming field presence with swarming capability on like literally every damn player in that kingdom. So a lot of things are burning for 1093. So what does 1093 need to do to not have this landslide and the Kingsland be over? I think that going into 365's downtime, 1093 really needs to kick into high gear. And like, we're 24 hours into this Kingsland almost. In fact, we're not even. Guys, this is not even 24 hours in, okay? I think that if they don't momentum flip this board very soon, it's over. I do. So they need to shift their attention over here. 1093 needs to minimize the extent they defend this. They need to let their allies own this field. And they need to minimally commit over here. And they need to stabilize the right. And they need to, I mean, look, when you're in a bind, you have to go for plays that are maybe less likely to work, but if they do, you're in a good spot. You could win. Play to win, not play to lose less. So the play to win here, I think, is to diminish presence on the left for 1093, shift all presence online to the right, stabilize right, shove back in the 365 downtime, and try to recreate the board you had at pass opening. And if they can recreate the board they had at pass opening, and then 365 is able to do this all over again at night, all right, fine, it is what it is. But then it sort of begs the question of what can the sort of 1093 allies accomplish? And if those 1093 allies, when fighting against this group of kingdoms, is able to do more than they can against 365, which is like super believable. 365 is just a tough kingdom to field against. Then maybe we have a 1093 win possibility. So I would say at this moment in time, 365 is favored to win. And that is in no small part because of their allies, who are really carrying a great amount of weight. And if the 1093 allies can match or exceed what the 365 allies are doing, while 1093 can at least go even with 365, then the allies of 1093 will win the KVK, or vice versa. If 365, 1093 go even, but the 365 allies push the board, then GG. They've won the KVK for 365. So I'm excited to see how this KVK is going to unfold. Now, on the topic of KVK, we queued up for KVK. We're set for a strife. I hope we'll get a match. I don't know if we will. But if we do get a match, guess what? We've got a new player that migrated in. I didn't know that they were coming into the kingdom until just a day or two ago, and that's BT Cyborg. BT freaking Cyborg at 660 million power. In his last KVK, he killed 500 million troops. 500 million. Okay. Remember the achievement for KVK is like, what is it? Like 30 million sevs inflicted, right? He did 500, just for some perspective. He killed 50 million of his troops. So Is that 500 million power that he lost last KVK? Oh my god. So yeah, BT Cyborg, total beast. He is here now in the Smash Squad. When everyone is in the Alliance, and they aren't all in the Alliance at the moment, we are now 19 billion power with everyone here. 19 billion out of KVK with everyone in. I mean, we're a one Alliance kingdom, and we moved on. We really moved in on that kingdom design with the understanding that that is probably going to be the meta for kingdom design moving forward in Rise of Kingdoms. It all depends on how fast kingdoms shrink, but the shrinking trend has been undeniable. Kingdoms are just getting smaller and smaller as individual power levels for every player is going up and up over time as people play the game. And it's just the nature of the Imperium system doing its work. So I'm kind of hyped for our KVK coming up. Of course, if you want to see some KVK fighting, I'll have two cards in the end screen for you in just a second. One is the pass opening for this KVK into Kingsland. You want to see how we got into this spot? Check it out. I think that was a really fun stream with several guests from 2605, My Kingdom, in the stream as well. If you want to see the pass opening for this left and right zone, I'll have a card in the end screen for that as well. I hope you'll check them out. Consider subscribing and smashing the like button if you haven't already. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.